You're listening to the Unguarded podcast, and I am one of your hosts, Beck Smith, and this is my amazing husband of 13 years,
That's right.
Joe Smith.
Joe Smith. Very excited for today.
We are very excited for today. We're going to talk about something juicy.
Something that we love.
We love.
Right? And
It's
and
a fun
thing.
one.
It is a fun one. And we've loved having guests on recently.
Yes.
It's been super cool. And we've got amazing people coming your way, which are really beautiful. Some we've already filmed with, others that are filming very shortly. But today, we wanted to talk about some other guests that we want to have on the program, that they're not here with us, but they're here in our hearts.
Yes.
And
maybe one day they will be.
Maybe one day they will be. And today is a Love is Blind episode.
Let's go.
Because
our favorite show.
Love is Blind is probably our favorite show. Like, you know, there's certain shows when you're married that you watch together.
Yes.
But I feel like the state of TV, right, is just not a lot of great TV right now. And with Succession being done and, you know, Game of Thrones finishing and Breaking Bad, all these iconic shows that we would watch together.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like now it's just not as like premiere TV.
Yeah.
Anymore, you know, or even especially with streaming, everybody's not on the same page and watching at the same time. So anyway, there's shows that you watch. Yes. I come home and I hear some new accent of some British show that's a Downton Abbey season 12 mixed with Bridgerton. And so yeah, you have your shows and then I have my shows, right? Netflix sports documentaries are my jam right now.
Which I do love.
Which it's true, I've got you into.
Yeah.
But Love is Blind right now is like our show together. Like the reunion just came out last night. And I'm gonna be honest, confession time, right? I opened it up late last night. You know, it was,
oh my gosh.
It was after we had Bible study here at Mosaic. And, you know, we celebrated the Dodgers. Oh, by the way, Dodgers, World Series champs.
What?
Can't believe we took this long to say it.
That's so true.
Massive Dodger fans in our family. Like, who's your favorite Dodger?
I'm not trying
that one guy, right? That one guy. You love that one guy.
The Japanese guy, right?
Mookie, Shohei, Freddie.
Shohei. Oh, Freddie is amazing.
And so yeah, so that's actually what we've been watching is the Dodgers. But last night at Bible study that I was teaching, I got home late last night after we were all celebrating, you know, the Dodgers winning, and I opened up my phone and I saw the Netflix app and I had a thought. She'll never know. I can rewind because I really want to watch this reunion and I just kept staring at like new episode.
Oh my gosh, they're strange.
I just want you to know I did not, babe. I did not betray you.
Thank
I did not watch it. It took every ounce of self-control to not watch that.
I mean, if
reunion.
you had told me, I probably would have woken up and watched it with you.
Yeah, that's true. You probably
but it's probably would have been a bad idea.
Then you would be mad in the morning.
I literally forgot about it. Yep. I forgot. With the Dodgers winning, it's just everything else. But I've been waiting. I was like, oh, when is it Wednesday? Oh, it's Tuesday. Dang it.
Yeah. So for those of you, or for people listening, maybe that have never watched Love is Blind, you want to give like a quick synopsis of the show, why it's captivated us and why we love it.
Okay, so it's people trying to find love. And they go on the show and they date each other through the pods, which is you go into a room, it's just a wall, and you're talking to a stranger. Yep. And you get to know each other and you decide.
You can't see each other.
You can't see each other. Yep. And you are dating them without seeing them. And then you decide, okay, is there anyone that I connect with? And then if so, the man will propose and say like, let's get engaged. And then that's when they view each other for the very first time. And then.
Well, hold on, the big jumps. Because it's fascinating in this show, right? Because you hear them like there's a girl's pod and then a guy's pod.
Yeah.
That's like their living quarters. And so they all see each other, like all the girls, and they know they're talking about the dates and they're number one guys, right? And then you have the love triangles that happen where like, you know, two girls are interested in the same guy. And, and then they act like, you know, whatever sisterhood, we'll never let it come between us. It always comes between them, right?
Yeah. It's the one interesting thing that, you know, you can't date multiple people well, you can.
You can. I know plenty of people who do.
But I mean, like, you don't, as a girl, you're like, no, you got to be just dating me, not other people. is the one place that's like, oh, you can date multiple people and it's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
And yet they're trying to find they're setting up an experiment. Is love blind?
Yep.
And can you fall in love with someone without seeing them?
Mm-hmm. Fascinating premise.
Yeah, find a connection, and then in the outside world, does it still add up? Does it still like work?
So they're in the pods. They go on these dates. The whole thing is like less than 2 weeks, right? I think it's 10 or 12 days.
Yeah, nothing at all.
And then around, I think it's like day 9, 10, 11. Once you've whittled down your choices and then you go on multiple dates, you spend more time with, then you can ask, okay, will you marry me? And then they get to decide either yes or no. And then you have that moment of the reveal.
Yes.
Where they committed to each other. Let's get married. We're engaged without ever laying eyes on each other. But then they do a thing where they have like these silhouettes and this long little catwalk carpeted, and the doors open and they see each other for the first time. And that part's really fascinating, right?
It is fascinating.
Because you can tell. Because we humans, our faces, we may lie with our words. We cannot lie with our face. Yeah. And there's so many times where you watch and you see the two people looking at each other going like, ooh, I thought love could be blind. And maybe love is blind, but I'm not blind.
Yeah.
And this person is not as attractive as I thought they would be. Or I didn't think I cared that much about looks, but I actually do. Or then a lot of times what you notice, right, is people get really insecure.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's not that they're worried, right, about whether they're going to be attracted to the person. It's really they're worried, am I attractive?
Yes. To
that person, because we get insecure and jammed up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, then they meet. Sometimes the opposite happens where you see like fireworks immediately and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad she's so hot, right?
Oh my gosh.
Or he's exactly my type, all that stuff. And then they go, from that point, then they go on like a honeymoon or a little vacation in some tropical place to figure out, okay, now that we have seen each other, like, is there romance? Is there chemistry? Is there chemistry? Yep. Yeah. And then even the couples then get to see each other for the first time. So then that's a whole dilemma as well, because people that you went on dates with before and cut off, now you get to see them for the first time and feelings kind of like, oh, okay, that person is cute. More cute for sure. But then they go and you see the stories, right? This person is more attractive than the person I chose. Yeah. And then there's all the dance that happens in those like 3-4 days on vacation. Yeah. To then they go, after that, they go back to wherever city they live in, and they're living together and they're in each other's world for like, I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks before. It's pretty quick. Yeah. Before then they actually have a wedding. And they decide. And they decide at the altar, like, do we want to get married or not? Can I just... Yeah, so that's the overview. Love is blind, and we're gonna dive into some really interesting things that we noticed from it. But yes, can I just say something funny? Say it. Yes, David, you have to listen to this. That our producer, that it's funny that sometimes you go, "Can you do a quick review?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll go quick." I go quick, and you go, whoa, you just missed out on so much detail. Sometimes you need more detail, sometimes you need less detail. I can't win with you, though, because I'm like, you say, oh, can you just do a quick thing? And I'm like, sure. And then I go into too much detail, and you go, no, babe, that's too much detail. And then when I go quick, I'm trying to do an overview of Love is Blind, but like within a few sentences. 100%. But then I'm trying to give our people context. I know, but it's hilarious never seen the show. Because you see we're complex human beings. You see the dilemma that I'm in, people? Do you see the dilemma? That's life, right? There's sometimes you need more, there's sometimes you need less. Yeah, but sometimes it's always up to you if you think I should do a quick one or a slow one. I'm simply sharing with you my opinion. Yes, but if I do a slow one, you butt in and do the quick version. And if it's a great slow one, then I let it go. It just tells me you need a little bit more. Okay, we're diverging. But I think it's an interesting point that we can talk about that in another episode. Today is about Love is Blind. And so this season has been really interesting. There's been some highs, been some lows. Maybe not my favorite season of all of them, but I think it has been good, actually. No, I'm just saying it hasn't been my favorite season. Well, what's your favorite season? I don't know. I don't know what would be. I just know
We're
this
to
one
like
was.
season 7. We can't
I don't
remember.
I don't have them all
Categorized.
memorized in my head, but
Maybe like the first or second season was like
I mean, the first
really
season
good.
was awesome because it
Yeah.
was
So
so
new.
fresh and new and
Yeah.
different. But what I thought would be interesting, because we can kind of
Yes.
dissect it a little bit, right?
Yeah,
There's a
tell me.
lot of layers. We have a ton of friends who are looking for love
Yeah.
and that are single and have expressed to us it's really hard to date
Yes.
right now, especially when you get older, in late 20s, 30s. Or we have friends who are close to 40 and going like, is it ever going to happen for me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you sense that a lot with the people on the show is, for the most part, there's hardly any young 20s. There's
a few.
I know, but yes, that's what I said. There's hardly any
Okay.
young 20s.
Well, we're going to be feisty here.
We are, or you are. Well, I'm able to receive your feistiness. I'm down with it. But there's most of the time they're a little older.
Yeah, they're
right?
in their 30s.
Because they're like, it's really hard out in these streets,
Yeah.
And so one thing I thought would be interesting is like, why do you think people are more intrigued to go on a human experiment like Love is Blind? That if you would ever just like tell your 22-year-old self, this is going to be the environment that you're going to choose, you would be like, you're crazy. Don't ever do that. But why do you think so many people, and even for thousands that apply every single season, what is the intrigue for people to go on this show?
I think one of the intrigues is that they want to find the repeated thing that people say all the time is they were trying to find someone that's like kind of their soulmate rather than the person that they're always attracted to. Like they always have a type that they're attracted to, and it never has gone well.
Sure.
So they're like, I want to find someone that I actually have a true connection with, where looks aren't the obstacle. Like I think there's one relationship that's, I think they got married. They said yes to each other.
No spoilers with names, but yeah.
And I think he thought when he met her, he's like, wow, you're beautiful. And he said, I don't think I would have asked if I saw her in the bar. I never would have approached her because I thought, no, she's way too beautiful for me. So his bar was like, he was like, I'm a nerd. But not realizing she was a nerd too. And that they both actually have crazy same interests, and they connect on multiple levels. And she fell in love with him. She's like, no, I'm obsessed with you. I love you. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is that they go in hoping that they just won't be thinking about the looks, and they would go for the person that they truly connect with on a deeper level, on a soul level.
Yep.
And who they can be most themselves with.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we get too jammed up, and we have way too many like insecurities or fears, or we've seen it played out in our lives, and we think we can't get that person, or so we don't go for it.
Yeah. No, it's good. I remember that scene with him. When you look at he's a pretty good looking guy as well, and you wouldn't think he would have a hard time approaching women.
I don't know about that. I mean,
you don't know about. Have you seen the glow up?
No, that's what I mean. Once you see the glow up, you're like, okay, she made it happen. But there was potential there.
Yeah.
But he would have dressed and probably carried himself as not good looking. But
is it the clothes that make you good looking, or is it?
Yeah, the confidence, the swag. Yeah, definitely clothing, hairstyle. Like he was cutting off this hair that made him look worse. Haircuts, everything.
Shout outs to the barbers
of
the world and the hairstylists. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that you have a guy who, because there's sometimes you go and look at people, whether it's on a show like Love is Blind or even your friends.
Yes.
Like I was literally just talking with somebody this morning who met a friend's wife for the first time. And it was hilarious. He was literally saying, he's like, yeah, like they had this pumpkin event, and this friend brought his wife, and he's like, yeah, bro, I looked at her and I'm like, wow, like she was attractive. He was like, I was shocked. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, because you hear him, he didn't want to say like, because he's not. It's like
Yeah.
it was like the whole thing of like, bro, does she know? Is she blind? Because you could see that sometimes where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, it feels like I don't know if you guys are on the same page and same level, and you have this show where it's all about getting everybody on the same level,
Yeah, that's good.
or
True.
just eliminating the distraction sometimes that looks can be. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be attracted to people, of course, but really the physical attraction. Because I think that's a key aspect of the show. There's still attraction involved,
Yes.
right?
The
But can
sound of their
you,
voice and all that.
yeah, the sound of somebody's voice, the intimacy created through communication, right? The moments you find commonalities that bond you, but then also the moments when somebody's differences are so intriguing and the curiosity pulls you in. It's an experiment that gets a lot of the fluff out of the way and go, okay, can we actually talk about the things that truly matter?
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the more interesting things about the show is what we've discovered in watching it now,
Mm-hmm.
7 seasons, is a lot of times in the pods, what happens when a relationship kind of hits a breaking point in the real world is when things that were told to them in the pod or things they experience in the pod, they experience a whole different person.
It doesn't translate. Yeah.
Doesn't translate. Or like, oh, you said this mattered to you or this value or this was a value to you, but then now when it's actualized,
Wow, that's a good point.
I think you might have just been saying that to appease me.
Yeah.
So it's like this dance of,
or like they're so vulnerable in the pod and they're like sharing their deepest, darkest feelings, but then when they get in the real world, they shut off. Like that one guy who it was such a beautiful episode, and it's so sad the way it ended. But when he meets her father, who is sick, and says like, I love your daughter, and the father cries and is like, I can see that you love my daughter and you will honor her and look after her. And then 2 days later,
even it tells her dad, like, I will take care of your daughter for you. Yeah.
And he wrote a letter to him in the pod saying, I will take care of your daughter because I know she means so much to you. And then 2 days later, which I love that she specified, because sometimes in the show, you don't realize the context of time. You think, oh, weeks have gone by. And luckily she said, wow, 2 days earlier, you said to my dad that you would love me forever. And now you're completely shut off. He's like, no, I want to talk to you. I don't want to be with you. I never want to see you again.
Yeah, it was so dramatic.
I was like, who is he? What happened? Like, so what happened?
That's a great question. What happened?
Yeah.
What happens? How do you get there? How do we become different people in different situations?
Well, hopefully we find out in the reunion, but
no, I'm just saying in general.
No, okay, in life.
Yeah, life.
Well,
like
I think
when people experience that, oh, you promised that you would do this, and then 2 days later, a week later, a month later, you do the complete opposite.
Okay, so there was a conflict that happened while they were on their
Now we're going
Mexico
back. You
trip.
just like, I'm trying to get general answers, and you're like, nope, go back to the show.
It's a great example.
Okay, I'm listening.
So that they're on the trip and they have a fight where she gets a little insecure and she says, I need space. She pushes him away, which now we know it's like, okay, you see it from the outside, like don't push them away. Of course, this fight was off camera, so we don't really know the context.
Yep.
But then the next morning they're in a fight and he says to her, like, I don't know if I can take your apology. She apologizes for pushing him away. And she shares with him, like, this is why I did it. I know this is wrong. Like, I'm trying to overcome this problem that I push away when I'm feeling insecure. And he says, I don't know if I can forgive you. So then she comes to him and says, okay, well, what can I do? Like, let me appease it. Like, I don't want to give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up on us. Then I guess a couple of days later, he meets the dad. He says, no, I'm in love with her. He fights for her. And you think, okay, it's good. But I feel like that was, we on that episode, we're like, dang, that's a red flag. I like a person who's like, no, I'm strong about what I believe in, or you've crossed a line. But he was so cold to her.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense that later on she does something else, who knows what she did to warrant that breakup. But he's like, no.
Oh, sure. Remember he specified what she did.
Oh, what
she
happened?
took a nap. Remember after he was so mad that she took a nap after
Oh my
after
gosh.
meeting his parents.
He's like, wow, you disrespected my parents by
Yeah.
taking a nap. And she's like, I was with them
And
for
for 4
4 hours.
hours. Yeah.
And I
Some
get
people have
tired.
priorities and they're like, no naps allowed in this relationship, you know. But I think that's an interesting part where because it's so sped up, right? Yeah, again, I think
Everything's heightened, you
yeah,
mean?
everything is so heightened. The stress and the anxiety, and you hear that in all the cast, right? They're like, I don't know, like I want to get married to you and I think I'm in love with you, but there's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
And then they meet parents, and some parents are like so welcoming. We love you, right? And I think a lot of people, not a lot, I think everybody can relate to that in a relationship, right? You're not just wanting the person that you're with to love you, but you're wanting their family to also
Yes.
be with you. You know that you got to win over her best friend
Yes, that's
and her
true. There's a lot of
mom
work.
and her dad, right? It's a lot of work and there's a lot of pressure. And I think they feel the weight of that pressure, but it's so sped up where I think because it's sped up, you are trying to package your best self.
Yes.
And it gets you in a dangerous place, right? That's why I'm like, I don't know if Love is Blind as a whole, like the idea, is love blind, is true. I think it can be, but I think the experiment is
Too
a
sped up.
faulty because it's too sped up.
Yeah. I think they've maybe shortened it, I would say. I wonder if from the
Yeah,
first
maybe.
season to now, because it feels like they keep talking about it more and more, like, whoa, this is so quick. But I wanted to say about that guy that ends it with her, that in that moment, I'm like, no wonder you haven't found love.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because there is a wall that once someone there's no grace
Yep.
and no forgiveness, that once they cross that line with you, they're dead to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's so harsh. How are you ever going to get to a place of real love if you don't let your guard down?
Yeah.
And you obviously let your guard down in the pod because he shared about losing his sisters.
Yep. And that's the irony.
Yeah.
I think is he gets really vulnerable. They have a moment where he shared how he lost 2 sisters when he was like
Yeah,
a teenager.
Devastating.
Devastated, broke his heart. And it's interesting. That's the very thing that bonds them. But then that's actually the material I think that created the hostility in the wall, is because he's still wounded from that. The reason there's a wall up, the reason, right? We all come to relationships with trauma and with
Yeah.
wounding and with pain. And it's when you're able to trust that person with your pain,
Yeah.
trust that person with the wounding. And it was immediately clear with him, when you hurt me or when you do something I don't want you to do, the wall is going up and I'm not letting anybody through because I've seen what pain does to a person.
Wow.
And it's immediate protection.
Or
you
what
know?
love does to you when you open up your heart to someone.
Yeah.
And they betray you. It's too painful.
Yep. And so maybe talk about that for a little bit, like breakups,
Yeah.
right? Because on the show, not everybody makes it to the altar.
Can we talk about the other breakup?
Yeah, that's 100%.
Yeah.
That was going to be the lead in is on the show, and which is also, parallel to life. Sometimes there's really good breakups, healthy breakups. And there's other times where it's really painful and unhealthy and destructive. How do you end things well? I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, I think
Give
you
you
should
time?
go.
Okay. I asked you the question, but I guess I asked me the question.
Yeah, you can ask yourself.
I think one thing when it comes to ending things well is asking yourself in the middle of the breakup, okay, what's the story that's going to be told on the other side of this?
Yeah.
A month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, right? And a lot of times when you let emotions lead you and when you say really destructive things, really painful things, you don't realize, oh my goodness, this is going to be a story she's going to tell her friends, her family, future boyfriends for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to launch a grenade.
Yeah.
So I think some of it is just going, hey, how do I be honest about where I'm at? How do I tell the truth about how I'm feeling? Or maybe it's been weeks, days, where you've been trying to get the courage to end it. I think one key factor in it is you don't have to say hurtful things in a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe what we should do is actually learn to do the opposite. What can you actually say that's encouraging to the person? What can you say that could actually build them up? Like, and honest, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
You know, but going, hey, this isn't on you. Because it makes me think of this one relationship on the show that they broke up and it was devastating.
Yes.
Like one of the hardest breakups I've
Saddest.
ever seen. And this person was so blindsided. And because they're going, oh my goodness, like we were going to get married in like 3 days. And up until this point, who I was enough.
Yep.
And who I was somebody that you wanted to be with. And now what you're telling me is that really what he said is like, you're just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I want all that energy.
Which is what was her fear. Even I think she shared that in the pod too. Like,
Yep.
I do have a big personality. I have a lot of energy, and I can be a lot for people. And he was like, no, you're not. Your energy is great for me. Like, I love this.
Yeah. But yeah, that breakup reinforced every insecurity that she had, because the very worry and fear that she had that I'm going to be too much, he validates and going,
yes,
yep, you're too much, you know? But the thing is, I don't think it was that. There was other things that were actually going on that he didn't have the courage to vocalize. And that could have been a really beautiful moment to go,
wow, that's a good point.
no, like, it's not that you're too much. I love your energy. I love that that's who God made you to be, and who, like, that's the person I fell in love with. It's just, I'm terrified. I was divorced before and I don't want to get divorced again.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if we have a physical attraction, but I don't know if we have like a deep connection that's going to last, or just, I want to take some time.
Yeah. Or your family doesn't really like me. Like, the mom doesn't like him.
Your family's crazy, but just giving real, honest, then she could have.
Yes, that's such a great point.
Yeah.
Because then the sad part is you're right. He doesn't have the courage to be honest, which I think you can see it play out through the whole, especially when they're at home. Like, he's withholding you can see it in his body language and his face. He's withholding so much from her, and she's trying to, like, okay, so should we plan the wedding? She's getting a sense that something's not right, but he doesn't give her anything, so she just keeps proceeding.
Yep.
And then it's that heartbreaking, like, well, 2 days ago, we were talking about what song we're going to dance to on our wedding day in a couple of days. So that means signals to her, like, okay, you're in.
Yeah.
And then she just says, like, why can't I be enough? Like, why can't someone choose me for me?
Mm-hmm. It just.
Her story, I would love to meet her, because she is, like,
she's incredible.
She's courageous. She handled every conflict so well. And even when, honestly, I was, like, screaming at the TV to be like, you should dump him, because how could a guy say that to you and you keep proceeding? But she really believed the best in him, I felt.
Yeah.
And he just probably wasn't worthy of that.
I would agree. I think it was a bullet that was dodged.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure she's happier now, but.
And I hope she finds true love, that a person that really does actually, like, love her for who she is.
But yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed on the show. More times than not, the breakups are really dysfunctional and really, there's just bad breakups, because the people choose to wound the other person, as opposed to just being honest about where they are in the relationship. And it's just a practical thing. Like, you know, if you don't want to be with somebody, choose not to be with them, but you don't have to demean and name call. And, like, I remember there's one season where it was at the altar, where one guy, we can spoil no, I don't want to say the names, because we want them to be our friends on the pod. But there was one couple that at the altar, they were deciding, are they gonna get married? And one said yes, and then the other person said no. But the way they said no is, like, they read their vows, and then all of a sudden, remember, they just cut them, going, you made me feel like this, and you made me feel like that. And,
oh, wow, that's
and, like,
right.
in their vows, they used it as a manipulation tool to get revenge.
Yeah.
And I was like, see, that's when you know your soul's in a dark place.
Unhealthy place. Yeah.
Yeah, because breakup should not be used to attack and to demean. They should be actually used to set each other free.
Yes. And I think that's where you're getting what this is really, really good. It's like how you break up is how you actually are in relationships.
Yeah, it's great.
And if you're not trustworthy in a breakup, you're never going to be trustworthy in a relationship. So if you know you need to, one thing is like, I also noticed in relationships, when you know you need to end it, but you don't because you're afraid to hurt them.
Yep. High volunteers tribute. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it too. And it actually hurts them longer in the long run. You are hurting them by not setting them free. And you think you're protecting them, right? Because you're like, oh, I can't leave them because who do they have? Maybe they've isolated themselves. But if they're not truly isolated, like if they don't truly feel the pain of their whole life, like their own brokenness, and you're trying to like mask that, then they'll never actually grow. So you're stopping them from growing. You're stopping them from finding who they're supposed to be, and they're stopping them from finding true love.
Yeah.
And then you're stopping yourself. You're giving away your precious time and years in a relationship that you know is going nowhere.
I feel attacked.
Yeah. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about that, but you did stay a little longer than maybe you should have.
I mean, maybe Brad breakup section of the episode. I'll share one of mine. Not even that the breakup was poor, because I feel like I did that well, but the lead up to the breakup
was bad.
Was not great, because it's too much what you're talking about. I was afraid to hurt the person. Yeah. I was with somebody for over 2 years, and it was like a year and a half that was long distance, and so you excuse things and you go, oh, it's got to be the distance, and that's why there's a disconnect. But I remember this is so crazy. I'm like getting goosebumps again thinking about it, or getting not goosebumps but cold flashes. I made the decision to break up with this person because I knew, okay, I gotta let her go, and for her own sake, all that you just said, 100%. And it's time. That day, I was breaking up with that person, and just happened to be in a car, and we're driving because I was living in Arizona at the time.
No, you're living in
LA.
I
was living in LA, but I was visiting family in Arizona and seeing her as well. And so we're in a car, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to do it. I'm doing it today. I'm breaking up with her. And as I'm like going in my head of like, how am I gonna say it? What are the right words? She literally looks at me and says, hey, I want to thank you so much for the way that you've loved me. Like my 15-year-old sister had given up on love. Like divorce all in the family. Dad was never in the picture, never saw a healthy relationship, and said, my sister literally came to me today and told me, I believe in love again because of the way that Joe has loved you and because of the relationship that you guys have established. And she just looked at me saying, thank you for the way that you love me. And I'm like, oh my, I just want to shrink. And I'm like, whoa, I'm literally about to break up with this girl. I couldn't look at her. I was looking outside the passenger window because I was just so humiliated. And so I felt terrible. And I chickened out. And she dropped me off at my parents' house, that I was staying at. And I was like, nope, not doing it. Can't. Not only am I going to break this girl's heart, I'll break her 15-year-old sister's heart.
Yeah.
And I was literally in bed, just like trying to will myself to go to sleep. Go to sleep. Don't think about it. And I just couldn't. And so I called her. It was like midnight. And I said, hey, can I come over? Need to chat. And yeah, drove over there. And I completely broke her heart. Yeah. Like shattered in a million pieces, blindsided her. She had no idea.
Yeah. And
it pained me to see the pain she was in. But to your point, what you're saying, the pain and the hurt was magnified because I didn't have the courage to do it sooner.
Wow.
It would have been it still would have hurt, still would have been painful. But if I would have done that a year earlier, not only would she not have wasted a year with somebody that wasn't going to be with her long term, but also I could have protected the degree in which the heartbreak was.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important in moments of Like when you know that you know. Sometimes it takes time to get there. I understand that.
Yeah.
But when you know that you know, you have to set that person free.
So do you think what do you think delayed you from doing it? And since, because she was blindsided,
Yeah.
it was, you said it. Is it because you didn't share early on? I don't know. Like, what could you have done earlier, or what did you withhold that could have given her indications like, oh, maybe this isn't, like, we're not going to get married, or
That I
this
didn't
is,
want to be with her.
yeah. Oh,
That's why.
oh, you could have just said that earlier. You mean,
Yeah. That's the thing. There was no drama. We had a good relationship.
yeah, good friendship.
Not even like relationship.
Yeah,
Like there
okay,
was
true.
romance. I know you're like, yeah, you
No,
you
no,
were
no.
only friends with her. You
I
didn't really love her.
I didn't mean
You
to
guys
say
pick
it.
up on that?
I didn't mean to say it like that. I meant to say, like, you guys
You're the
did
only
have
woman I've ever loved, babe.
Thank you. But really, I mean, like, you did have a good friendship underneath it all, as well as a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
but I could have been speaking on to him because I don't know. I wasn't there.
That's right. But no, yeah, we had a good relationship, and
Yeah.
that was one of the issues. Sometimes you miss out on great because you settle for good,
Wow.
and I was settling for good, and it's not even just on her. It was me. I was just good. I wasn't
Yeah.
the type of
Wow.
person that could create a mind-blowing,
That's really good.
life-altering, forever. Oh, this is why it's worth it. I wasn't doing the work to create that because I wasn't in it. It was just, uh, man, we had fun together, but I didn't see that. Oh, we could like change the world together.
Mm.
I didn't see we could build a life far greater than I could ever imagine together. And I had to decide, is good enough? And it might have taken me too long, but I finally had the courage to go, now I'm going to hold off for something that I think will blow my mind.
That you didn't know existed yet.
I didn't know existed, right? And up until that point, it was the best relationship I'd ever been in.
Mm.
Healthiest relationship I'd ever been in. Right? And that was some of the tension. And maybe some people listening can resonate with this.
Yes, go there.
Sometimes better doesn't mean best. Sometimes healthy doesn't mean best. Sometimes better, healthy is just a stepping stone to get you to where you truly need to be, to get you in the space to receive and create the very thing that you have yet to see.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for that relationship. I'm so thankful for that person. Like, and that's the thing. They found an incredible person and got married and, have like 3-4 kids and loving their life.
Same thing as us.
Like they're crushing it. And I love that. Even you said this before. I love that. Even though it absolutely blindsided her and broke her heart in the moment, that there's never been a heartbreak that you cannot rebuild something beautiful on. Mm-hmm. And that I was not the person for her. She was not the person for me. But in the nature of our relationship, I do believe that we help get each other to the place where we could be ready for the very thing that our soul longed for. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what was out there. I didn't know that you were coming months later, literally coming to LA months later. And I think a lot of times we want the guarantee of the great before we're willing to sacrifice and do what it takes to create the environment for the great.
Ooh,
and that was good. My decision to go, I'm no longer settling for good. We're breaking up. It's just me. I'm worried about him. I'm single and I'm gonna be single and third. That was my mentality,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna invest in myself, be single and be okay with that and love life. And then it was early on when we met, and then the chemistry we had, the just commonality of vision and passion and urgency.
Yeah.
And then, very early on in our relationship, I remember thinking, see, this is what I was waiting for.
How'd you know it was going to be great? Oh, how'd you know, this is the great that I've been waiting for?
I didn't know. when we talked about this too.
I know.
I
I just
didn't
want to say
I
that.
didn't know that this was the great. This was the material that I wanted to create the great.
Hmm.
I wanted to create a great life with you.
But why?
I
Why?
how
Why?
why? Because I wanted a great life.
No, but why did you choose me?
Oh, this is you want me to gas you up right now?
I'm trying to help people.
I'm just messing. Why'd I want to choose you?
Yeah.
Because I'd never seen um, I'd never seen life explode out of a person like I did with you.
Hmm.
I'd never seen, joy and wonder and for me a spiritual vitality.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was what was the magnet. And yeah, I that's the thing. I didn't know that we would create great. I didn't know that we would be great. I know that I just knew, or I committed that I was going to do everything I could to create that. Not even just for me, but to
Mm-hmm.
create that for you.
Yeah.
That's what um that's the supernatural, unexplainable, mind-blowing elements of love I think that are longing to be created. It's that we build the life that we long for
Mm-hmm.
by the choices we make, by the sacrifice we
Yeah.
make, by looking for not somebody who can love us unconditionally, but finding somebody that we choose to love unconditionally.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a key thing that sometimes we think we'll get to that greatness on our own,
Mm-hmm.
but especially I think all the guys out there that are maybe trying to get to the great without their person, that actually the greatest catalyst is love. Like when you love someone so much, you will sacrifice things you never thought you could sacrifice.
Mm.
And you yourself will fight harder for the great in your life because it's for someone else.
Yep.
And I remember there was a at Arena conference, which is shout out to them because that was an incredible conference.
Mm.
If you can get to it next year, you make sure you're there. This guy Brandon spoke and he shared how his life, he was like trying to be a writer. He had no money. He was in debt. He was relying on his wife, I think at the time. I think they were married. His wife for all the finances, and he was pretending to write. And then he was in the bedroom. She like crept under the bed covers to go to sleep, and he saw all the bills on top of her, and he said, "Oh my gosh, that's a visualization of what I'm doing to her right now. Like me not being great is allowing her to be under my debt."
Yeah.
And in that moment, he was like, I need to be great because she deserves my greatness.
Yep.
And so I'm going to fight for that. And that visualization, that thing, I was like, that's a beautiful metaphor for life.
Yep.
That when you love someone so much, when you choose to love someone, and like you said, commit to someone, then you will be your greatest self. Like if you are in a relationship and you're not doing great and you're not even doing good,
Yeah.
then that is a huge red flag to end it. Not just for your sake, but for her sake too. Or vice versa.
Yep.
Not for your sake, but for his sake. Like it doesn't, you know good that you're settling for less when you know if you really asked yourself, is this my great? And you know it's not, then you have to end it now. Do not wait another day, another moment. Like I loved that you tried to let it go, but then you couldn't sleep and you got up and said, I'm driving there right now. Like it cannot wait another moment because what I'm doing is stealing time from her.
Yeah.
Time that she could heal from this and move on to the great.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
That's what a good breakup does. You give time back to them.
That's true. Yep. And you let the people who need to be the source of healing be the source of healing.
Yes.
Because that's also just and maybe as we close, that's a
Yeah.
last practical aspect of, especially if you're the one doing the breaking up, you have disqualified yourself of being the person who is a source of healing.
Wow.
Because
that's good.
it's too close. It keeps ties.
Yeah.
And the emotions, and you've got to let the person go and then trust and believe that they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
That they're their people, because you're no longer their people.
Yeah.
Their people will take them in,
Yes.
will heal their wounds.
Do not text them.
Nurse them back to health, 100%.
Do not draw yourself back into them, into
Absolutely.
their vortex.
I literally just had a conversation with that. Not exactly the same, but sort of a relationship, and I had to be very direct with this person. I'm not normally direct, except when I feel like it's really important.
Yes.
And I said, because they're like, well, do I have to like stop communication? Or no, they said, should I stop communication? I said, you're asking the wrong question. No, sorry. No, the exact word they said, would you stop communication with this person? And I said, great, good question, but not the right one.
Yeah.
And I said, you're asking the wrong question. And he said, what should I ask? And I said, you should ask me, what must I do? Because sometimes in those moments, you can't leave yourself to your own vices. You need to trust in the people around you to actually give you direction.
Yes.
And I said, I don't love being very direct, but I am going to in this moment. You must cease all communication.
Mm-hmm.
You must stop texting her.
Yep.
You have to let her go. And he was kind of shocked. And I said, I don't always give this. And I have the type of relationship with this person that I could do that with.
Yeah.
But I said, here's why. Because you'll always be the string that they know that they could come. And when they're hurt and when they're wounded, they could, and because, and I was honest with him about this too. I said, and because your ego wants it.
Wow.
Your ego loves to be the person that's adored and to be the person that's wanted, that you don't want to commit to the relationship, but you don't want to commit to the breakup.
Wow.
And you live in the limbo. And that's not fair to the person.
Yeah.
And I said, and because they're like, I mean, I know they're going to be hurt. And I said, absolutely. But you know what they'll be okay with? Being hurt.
Wow.
Because we're always going to end up here with them being hurt.
Yeah.
You have to decide. Do you care more about their future than you do about your present?
Dang. Here's the thing. So I was having a coffee with my friend today, and she was like, I have to admit, I text my ex.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that you're flipping it on the reverse, I'm like, okay, so obviously there's something broken in her that she's like, I'm going to reach back out to the person that I know is not in my future.
Sure.
But then also on the reverse, what has he done that hasn't said we are not communicating?
Yep.
What, like, has he left that door open so she thinks, oh, in this really hard moment, I'm going to go straight back to you for comfort.
Yep.
Because he's also broken and he's thinking, well, I don't want to cut it off completely because, like you said, it feels good that they'll, even after years of not seeing them, they'll text you and say, I wanted you to be the person I call. You want to be the person that everyone calls, but that's not good and it's not healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, let the person move on. So, like you said, like, heal now and get over it.
Yep.
Don't be talking about this 10 years later, about this, what could have happened.
Yeah.
It didn't happen and it's not for you. You know it's not healthy. And you can't move on to the future meeting someone new if you still have them in your back of your mind.
100%. Because if you don't break it off, every date you go on, every hangout that you have, every time you meet a person, you're never meeting them. That too, but you're never meeting them by yourself.
Oh, shit.
You're meeting them with the strings of your ex with you.
Wow.
And so when you go out to dinner, it's not a table for two, it's a table for three. And you have to decide to cut it off so that you actually honor the person that you're with in the moment, or the person you're pursuing. Yeah. Because when you have ties to an ex, there's never just two people involved. There's always three.
And that's the thing. If you had it, like, I know you said you could have done things differently with your ex, but if you made that messy and I came into your life 3 months later, which is not that long. Yeah. If it was messy, then I would have come right into it, to that mess.
For sure.
But when I met you, I didn't even know anything about it for months. I mean, honestly, until you told me. But I didn't even realize how quick it had been. because there was no feeling of the mess.
Mm.
Because there was no mess. Like, say what you say and mean it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
say it's ended and then actually end it
Mm-hmm.
physically through your actions. Don't keep the contact. Don't draw it out because it feels better that way.
Yeah. So wherever you are listening, you know who you are.
Yes.
You know that you've been texting that person. You know,
Put
cut
down
off
your phone.
communication, block their number.
Yeah.
You know, block them on socials. Like, just a limit. Or maybe you're a friend of somebody who you know your girl is holding on. Grab her phone. Be like, hey, because some of you can't do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, give me your phone. Do you give me permission to do this?
Yeah.
Let her have a verbal yes or a nonverbal shaking of the head, and then delete that number, because it's time to move on. Speaking of, it's time to move on.
I know we need to move on, but can I say one last thing?
One last thing.
If
yes.
you know that, okay, my vice is that I text the ex, call your best friend and say, I want to text him.
Yeah.
And allow that person to help you off the ledge so that you can keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you open the door, it's so much harder to shut it again.
For sure. Yep.
That's all.
Well, thank you for listening to Unguarded.
Yes.
Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, right? It's one thing that just helps us be engaged with you. Like, we read every comment, we read every DM, because it helps us make sure we're pointing in the right direction. And the reason we do this is because we genuinely want to help relationships all around the world. We want to help you thrive. We want to help you find the thing that we found. We want to help you heal where brokenness has happened. We want to help the world have a revolution of love and health and vitality. And we're going to give everything we have to this pod and to you. So we love you. We can't wait to see you next week on the latest episode of Unguarded. Take care.
Bye.